Thomas Andre and Shimizu Akari have once again shifted the meta in solo leveling Arise, so it's time to find out who the best hunters are in this updated tier list. And if you missed my last tier list video, this right here is my current updated tier list with all of the best hunters in the SS tier, going all the way down to the D tier where unfortunately Kim Sang-shik only sits. And pretty much for the first time ever, I'm not going to be making any updates to this tier list because I'm pretty happy with how every hunter is currently ranked, because recently we haven't had any balance changes apart from the ones to the regular SSR Baekhyunho. However, he's still going to be S tier, which leaves me to instantly rank the two latest hunters added to the game, being Shimizu Akari and also Thomas Andre. And let's start off with the Goliath himself, Thomas Andre, and by far he is the best hunter in the entire game. And that is simply just because Thomas Andre is just so good in so many pieces of content, and especially teamfight content. And the main factor for him being so good in teamfight game modes is pretty much because that he does get a 24% flat damage increase in those, which means in things like Guild Boss and Power of Destruction, he is going to do way more damage than literally anybody else is going to do. But then when it does come to other game modes like your Workshop of Brilliant Light and just all of your other stuff like Encore and Instance Dungeons and all that kind of stuff, he is going to be a lot more similar to other DPSs because he can't really benefit from that 24% damage increase. But then of course all of his value is also going to come from his Steel Tyrant buff that he does apply through his ultimate skill, which completely transforms his entire kit in allowing him to do so much damage and giving him a massive amount of shields, because he can pretty much just double the damage of things like his basic skills and stuff like that, which is really good, and it allows him to keep his shield effects for 10 seconds, which is also going to be fantastic because his damage does increase based on how much current shield effects that he does actually have, which makes that 10-second increase in your shield is going to be really good. And not to mention also when you are transformed, his actual ultimate damage that he can deal through his Black Hole Crash is probably the highest damaging ultimate in the entire game. And then as well, so Thomas Andre's advancements are also really good and are definitely must-haves, but to be honest, hopefully most of you all got him to A5, as you probably should have saved for him to get him to A5 just because he is the best character in the entire game. But like for example, he does get a lot of quality of life in his A1 advancement, because when the user gains a shield effect, he instantly activates the Overwhelming Power effect, which is one of his best buffs in his entire kit because it can stack up to 5 times and last for 25 seconds, and also can increase his defense by 10% for every stack that you do actually have, so he can get an instant 50% defense increase, which is really powerful. And then also when you combine like those buffs that he does have with things like the Warmonger set to give yourself another 32% defense as well, it's really strong. And then also other things like his A2 as well, when a shield effect is active, it increases the user's critical hit rate and critical hit damage by 10%. This is really valuable because external critical hit rate buffs, especially critical hit rate buffs, not necessarily critical hit damage buffs, are really valuable and are really strong, because obviously a lot of the strongest enemies in the game do have a really high amount of crit resistance, so it is pretty annoying for you to crit. However, because of things like this, it does make it a lot easier for him to crit, because it does help him go beyond that 50% critical hit rate threshold that you can normally only get through your artifacts. And then also his A3 allows him to utilize his Overgrowth buff, which just allows him to do an extra amount of damage based on the amount of shield effects that he does actually have. And also it does scale off of his defense, but pretty much it does then scale even higher based on how much shielding he does actually have, so he can get a lot of damage through that, which is really good. His A4 giving a 16% defense increase is going to be way more valuable than you might think as well, obviously not just because of the damage buff that it's going to give you, but mainly because of the shield effects increase that it's going to give you as well. And then finally his A5 increasing the damage of his Black Hole Crash by 125% is really good, mainly because that is going to be his main source of damage. So yeah, Thomas Andre is a bit of a god, not gonna lie, easily the best hunter in the game, so the easiest SS tier I've ever seen in my life in this game. Bro is easily the #1 hunter in the entire game. He just does so much damage and is going to be just so good in the future for pretty much all of the end game content, which then brings me on to the latest character to be added to the game, which is going to be Shimizu Akari. And my very first impressions of Shimizu Akari were that she's pretty mid, honestly. However, fortunately she has received a decent buff in increasing her attack speed, I believe, in her skills, so it should allow her to apply her debuffs even more often and consistently. But pretty much where all of her value does actually lie is going to be in her advancements, and overall I think the best advancement that, well, maybe not the best, but the one that brings the most quality of life to her kit is going to be her A1, and this is because of the enhancement effects that it does apply to the buffs that she does have, because her Truth Seeker of Divine Flame can now inflict 2 instances of her Divine Flame debuff to your target, which is really good. But for me personally, the best thing about this is basically the fact that when a light team member does attack, you can then activate her Echo of Light shield effects every 20 seconds, which is going to be really good, because it does essentially allow her to apply shields to your entire team whilst she's not really on the field, which is really, really good. So it gives her an off-field effect, an off-field value. And then also the enhancement to the Holy Fire buff, giving a 12% damage reduction, and also the extra charging of your power gauge is going to be really, really good because it's going to allow you to rotate even faster, because it is going to allow your Akari to get her ultimate much, much quicker. And then things like her A2 give her more HP and also extra shield effect for your entire team, which is really, really good. But it's not something that's necessarily needed, because I think her shield application that she does apply, as long as you do actually have a good amount of HP, I think is still really, really good. Her A3 is going to be what gives your team a really, really big damage increase, because the Divine Flame effect is then enhanced, as well as also the Ring of Fire effect is enhanced, which is the debuff that she normally only applies through her ultimate skill. But the main thing about this A3 is that the enhanced version of Divine Flame can now actually activate the Ring of Fire effect, which is really, really powerful, because it normally couldn't. And then basically what Ring of Fire does is it basically increases the light damage taken by your enemies by 20%, which is going to give your Thomas Andre, your Gogenhi, etc. a good amount of extra damage. And then for her last two advancements, these are also fantastic, especially her A5, which I'll get onto in a little bit. But her A4 is really, really valuable, because for every light team member in your party, you increase your light damage of your light team members by 3%, so that can go up to 9%. And then you can also increase the defense of the team member with the highest defense by 3%, so that, again, if that's your Thomas Andre or Gogenhi, you'll be able to benefit them very nicely. But then what is even better, and what is just utterly disgusting in how strong this is going to be her A5, because it does enhance the brilliance effect to basically just double all of the healing and the damage, and also the critical hit rate buffs that it does give, all the way up to 16%. And normally the way brilliance is applied is going to be through her ultimate skill Ring of Fire, which obviously increases damage and your crit rate of your basic and ultimate skills, and also it gives you healing equal to 8% of her max HP, which is going to be really good when you do play in the Hunter game mode, and also just team fight content as well. But also what she does is she does actually apply the brilliance buff through her support skill Guiding Light, which overall in my opinion is going to make her have the best support skill in the entire game, because this support skill will last for 24 seconds, and with the support skill having a cooldown of 25 seconds, it does pretty much essentially mean that you can have a 100% uptime on her brilliance buff. And also, not to mention, because it is the brilliance buff that she does apply to your Sung Jinwoo, it should mean that it will actually benefit from her A5 increase, which is going to be ridiculously powerful and is going to give your Sung Jinwoo a lot more damage, which overall I think is one of the things that Shimizu Akari might be slightly slept on about. But overall, yeah, I think she is pretty damn good. So yeah, overall Shimizu Akari is really, really powerful, but you do need a lot of advancements to make her as strong as possible. If she could be used on more teams, as opposed to the Thomas Andre team, I would probably put her into the SS tier. However, for now, I think she's going to go into the S+ tier alongside Mailing Fish and all the other really good supports in the game. So there you have it. This is my complete tier list right here. Those are all of the rankings for pretty much the end of this year, because there's no more characters to come out this year. And overall, if you did enjoy this video, or you just found it useful in general, then don't forget to like and subscribe, as it does help out a ton. And also, by the time this video is out, it will actually be Christmas, so have a good Christmas as well. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. Peace!